Oh. Whoa. Yep, Arcane's back. Season 2, the first 3 episodes have dropped, and boy, this thing wasted no time. Uh where do you start with this thing? There are some shows that I'm coming to the conclusion if you're going to get people's opinions, they're almost better experienced by reaction style channels than review channels, because it's hard to know where to start with this. Well, let's start with the purest, simplest thing. Oh, this show's gorgeous. Stunningly so. This thing looks so good. Still. And like, we knew that already. Still looks amazing. Still looks really, really good. This has to start picking up the pieces pretty much immediately from the end of the previous season, because, I mean, any kind of time jump forward was not going to cut it. And I would say that there's a couple of things about this season. There's one thing that I think hampers it slightly, though not very much. And another thing that I don't think is necessarily a problem, but is a shift that I haven't made my mind up about yet. The thing that hampers it slightly is it does have to pick up immediately from the ending of season 1, which means that it has to immediately launch into the the ramifications of what happened, and we can't take a second to reset and ease back into it. And honestly, I know some people like it when stories hit the ground running. That was one of the real strengths of season 1, was the gradual escalation of everything. He kind of had to start at a certain calm to get that. And while there is escalation in this, it doesn't feel as drastic because we have to start at such a heightened level for the season. That was probably unavoidable though. So again, even though I'm saying that's like a minor knock against it, I'm not sure there was really any way around it. So there's that. The other thing is the hex tech, the hex stuff in general is, last time it felt like the hex tech was a complicating factor for the problems that already existed between these classes, these castes of society, between these individual people. It was exacerbating stuff that was already there. It felt like before hex tech was an accelerant. Now it feels like an ignition. It feels like hex tech is driving more of the plot before, whereas in the last season, it was something that was just impacting the characters and the characters were making use of, but you really did largely get the sense these people would have been more or less the same and in more or less the same situation, minus this stuff. Couple of exceptions here and there, but by and large, fundamentally. Here the hex stuff feels like it is much more front and center, which I don't know what I think of yet. Because that's the kind of thing that feels like, it feels like lore. And lore is the kind of thing that the video game source material, I guess, because I forgot to mention it earlier, quick note, screw Riot Games. That is a company that does not have a great work environment and history, and has not been able to satisfactorily, at least to me, show that they have fixed their work culture. So, I am aware of that issue, and I will never play the game. But yes, I know this still benefits them in the sense of PR for League of Legends, if nothing else. It is what it is. I am aware. No ethical consumption under capitalism, etc., etc. It sucks, but here we are. Anyways, the hex stuff, like becoming a bigger factor and like feeling like it's more of a touch point to things. Yeah, that feels like lore. That feels like lore starting to encroach on very character-driven stories up to this point. Now, it hasn't quite gone overboard yet, so I'm not prepared to write that off, but I am a little bit concerned about that. So when I saw the trailer and I saw Vi in the uniform, I was like, that's going to take some work justifying why she would do that. I think they did a decent job at it, actually, which was that she's going specifically to be part of a small team to go and get Jinx. And part of the reason she would join up with that is if this succeeds, it means there won't be an army sent down into Zaun, into her home. But at the same time, she is getting roped into some very questionable tactics as they push the Smog and the Gray around. She has her rationale and her rationalization, which I'm really glad they had her vocalize, that we were using it to clear the streets and keep people safe. I'm like, yeah, okay, you tell yourself that. And I'm sure a lot of cops tell themselves that we're just deploying tear gas to disperse the crowds and help calm things down. That's not the reality of it, but I get why she would think that, especially because she's kind of got tunnel vision on Jinx. Although not to the extent that Caitlyn has tunnel vision on Jinx. Dang. What was another thing that I was worried about, but oh, boy, got me. The little kid that kind of just bumps into, well, not kind of, literally bumps into Jinx and starts following her around. I remember thinking, I don't know where they're going with this, but it's going to end up feeling forced. It didn't. And actually, I felt like I didn't breathe through that whole sequence where that kid grabs a gun and gets between Vi and Jinx and is pointing the gun at Vi. I was like that. Whew. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, and when the kid threw himself over Jinx and was crying, and Jinx was trying to shake the kid off, and that got me. That got me in the feels. So I was nervous about the inclusion of this kid. I'm like, this is gonna feel maudlin or tacked on or whatever. Like, no, that works. I'm fine. That's working. And we get just some interesting looks at just the chaos that has resulted in what Jinx did in both parts of the city. So up top, we've got the remaining council people and their disagreements, but also being heavily manipulated by this freaking warmonger who I don't know if it was necessary to have the twist that she had kind of orchestrated some of what had gone on, specifically the attack on the memorial. I buy it. It's not out of character, but I kind of brought this up when I was talking about the Penguin TV show. If you're going to present me a situation that would have worked equally as well with a character either orchestrating the events that they are then able to, wield and control and manipulate into gaining power, or something happens and they are able to be opportunistic about it and use that situation to their advantage, I find that second one more interesting. I find characters who are quick to think on their feet and opportunistic, fast thinkers to be more interesting than long-term planners, by and large. So, and especially given we're finding out there's this whole Black Rose thing that's tracking her down. So she's got a knife to her back in some way. But at the same time, I'm kind of I feel like that clashes with her having had these plans, and it makes more sense to me that she's getting more brazen and opportunistic as her situation gets worse. And I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering the timing. Maybe the Black Rose threat against her came before the memorial fight. I don't think it did, though. I binged these 3 episodes, so I'm second guessing that now. But I don't think it happened in that order. So, but that's a minor thing. She is very intimidating, and she does She does what she's there for very, very well, which is to feel like, oh crap, you're gonna make everything worse. She's kind of in a way a mirror opposite to Jinx, because Jinx makes everything worse by chaos, and this this warmongering general is making everything worse through planning and strategy. But they're both making everything worse on either side of this conflict. I like that we had like a little moment of just hearing Silco's voice again. I kind of miss him. I kind of liked the infighting going on down in Zon, and the guy who's part of the diminutive race, but he's got like all this tech to give himself long arms and be as tall as everybody else. Like that. Oh, that looked so cool, and it was really good in the fight. The fights are still good. Action scenes are still real good in this. Not a surprise. Not very much of a surprise at all. And yeah, the hooks of this thing are in me. Like they just are. And I am excited to see what comes next. I am nervous, specifically in regards to the Hex stuff of that overtaking the story. Like if this, I don't think this is going to do this, but let me just put this on the record. If this story goes in the direction of everybody has to put their differences aside because the Hex stuff is a bigger threat, that would be the worst case scenario for me. Because like, I care about these characters and their dynamics and their struggles. So let me keep the focus on that. Victor, I haven't mentioned. Jesus? I'm real curious because like maybe I've just seen too many mad scientist tropes done. I really expected him to come out of that thing, you know, twisted and power mad or something, but no. He walks away, and in a way that might ultimately be hurting them. We don't really know yet, but he's trying to help. That's real interesting. And like the death of his friend from the previous season, you know, I thought that was going to be like one less thing keeping his humanity. Like it felt like he was on the road to being not just a monster, but like a madman. And he's not. That's really interesting. He might still ultimately end up being a monster depending on what he does, but he's not mad. And he means well. And besides, we have somebody else building a monster. So we don't need Victor for that. But Arcane Season 2, first 3 episodes, good stuff. Right now, I think Season 1, let's just compare to the first 3 episodes. Obviously, it's unfair to compare first 3 episodes to an entire season. But comparing the first 3 episodes of this to the first 3 episode block of the previous season, that one was better because it gave us more of an ease into it. And oh God, that episode 3 is devastating in that show. So, in that first season, but this was still pretty good. This is solid. The tension between Vi and Caitlyn is working, but has felt pretty predictable, a little bit rote. It's not bad, but I'll keep an eye on it. I think I've now haphazardly touched on everything I wanted to. What did you think of these first 3 episodes? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, and subscribe. Those all help me out. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now I'd like to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Goddess Elida, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Oliver B., Melissa Pedersen, Movie Turtle, Ulrich Bogdan, Loki Eris, Melinda Walters, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Fernambulax the Poodle, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Adam RDL Taylor, Pal Barabajagal, Mira G, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. They're all calmer this time because they're eating papaya. Whatever works.